What's good, everybody? It's your boy Tico on Blitz, back at it again with another video. And today we are going to be taking a look at the improved Tier 8 Premium Soviet Heavy, the IS-6. A vehicle that's been lurking around Blitz for a very long period of time. You would go into the tech tree and you would see that this would be pretty much the only premium tank that's accessible as apart from the tech tree. Available for 7,600 gold. That's the price that it has remained stationary throughout the course of its career. Now, within the present update of 11.9, this vehicle has received a ton of major buffs. Mainly on the armor. As you can see, the front of its turret is upwards of 160, and the front of its hull is upwards of 130. And then if we go ahead and take a look at the armor profile, this is what it looks like in the brand new update. The majority of the upper plate is extremely thick now, upwards of about 260 to 273 in most cases. The side skirts have even gotten much stronger, upwards in the 400s and 389 in most cases as well. Even the side skirts of the turret are incredibly strong, upwards of 311. And including the gun mantlet as well can be considerably troll, upwards of 273. However, the hatches are still a bit exposed to where they are going to be easy penetrations for this vehicle. Even this little cheek right here that's surrounding the side of the gun mantlet, upwards of 180. Somewhat of a 50-50. You can pen this little wedge that's poking out at the upper infrastructure, upwards of 221. But that's really where it's all going to change when I load in my premiums. Now the upper plate is exposed now to two minor weak spots that surround that wedge. And now this turret cheek right here is now opened up to an extensive amount. To which, if I'm running my calibrated shells, it's going to open the upper plate to the fullest capacity. But it's really going to change when this vehicle is relying on its 6 degrees of gun depression. Because at an angle like this, it now thickens that upper infrastructure to 350. Absolutely insane to even think about. Which would only mean that you would have to hit this wedge right here, as it's only thickened to a minor bit, upwards of 300 in most cases. As apart from the other individual areas to where this armor has made a major change as apart from Wargaming's balance behalf, is mainly the side scraping capabilities. Like, look at an area like this, for example. Like, you're hiding your full on upper and lower infrastructures, and you're kind of relying on going backwards at an angle like this, to where you can exceed those limits up to 370. Like, nothing is really going to pen you standard ammo-wise, especially when running my premiums, because it's only thickened now to 400 millimeters thick. Nothing is really going to pen you as apart from side scraping. Yeah, you got that little side skirt right here. When it's exposed, you can still pen it regardless. Even when running Cali, it's not going to make a difference whatsoever. It is just that strong now, as apart from the physical changes to what this vehicle has going for. I mean, it's absolutely crazy to even think about. From what was a relevant and a most popular premium, because it was pretty much accessible to anybody, has now been turned into a much deadlier foe, especially for one that is able to get more occasional bounces. So what's lurking for the side of the vehicle? The side of the turret is upwards of 151 to 213, and then the full-on side is upwards of 135 to 138. And then for the rear, the back of the turret is upwards of 156, and then the full-on rear is upwards of 86, to which HEs, without a question, cannot do anything to affect this vehicle's armor whatsoever. Along with that, this vehicle has received changes to both its 122mm armaments, receiving both DPM and reload time buffs, and, surprisingly enough, pen buffs. Now sitting just shy of 1800 damage per minute with a 13.4, what originally was 14 or 15 seconds of reload time. That is a big change as apart from that. And for the pen, this is something that this vehicle desperately needed. Now sitting at above 300 millimeters on the heat pen. This is something that I've wanted the IS-6 to have for an extensive period of time after the calibrated shell changes. I mean, what more can you ask for? This thing can basically butter through spaced armor like absolutely no tomorrow, but the only problem, heat shells have a less piercing effect. As for the other 122mm that has APCRs, it also did get buffed apart from that, only sitting at 228 though. It's still not going to be as bad, but you can already see that the reload time is almost at 9 seconds with 2300 damage per minute and just a 0.1 second off second shaved off from the aiming time to schematics, but the dispersion did end up staying the same, and the alpha did stay the same as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and lurk on into 2 battles and use both of these guns to the best of our ability and see what these changes have going for this vehicle. I absolutely loved the IS-6 back then. This was one of my most played premium tier 8s as apart from my old account because of the fact that it was basically accessible to anyone for that matter, like I said before. So I'm really interested to see what changes made a significant impact for what this vehicle has going for in this new update. So let's see what they got in terms of their heavies. They have a Carnivron and a Tiger 1. Alright, so it looks like they only have 2 heavies as apart from that. So we're going to kind of be waiting in our favorite spot right over here and see what's going to be lurking on out. We already got the AMX AC spotted off towards the side. It looks like the majority of their heavies are going to be going over towards the middle side right over here. We got that Tiger 1 exposed right out there in the open right there. So we're going to kind of go ahead and move on up just a tiny bit. And let's see what we can do. We got that AMX right there. It looks like we can spot his side profile. Let's go ahead and get... Oh, just missing the AG, unfortunately enough. All right. So let's go ahead and back on up then. We got this Defender right here. I don't really know what bro is doing as apart from that. So he's going to aim his 2 shells in on me. He's going to bounce that one right there. We're going to aim in a nice tap of 396 into his vehicle. All right, reloading once again, and then we have our adrenaline loaded. Let's go ahead and see if we can maybe get a nice slap into his side profile right here before he ends up getting into cover. But we do get a 421 slap. Fortunately, not able to get that HE shell out. Still a fairly solid outcome. All right, so reloading again. Looks like we got the majority of their teammates that are lurking on out in the open. We got that Carnivron right off to the side. Let's get a quick slap for 417 into his vehicle. Alright, so reloading once again. Alright, so it looks like they have more tanks that are coming out in the open right over here. To which we're going to be waiting. Can we maybe get an HE slap into him? Unfortunately not. So, oh my gosh, my RNG! Crazy outcome. Okay. Reloading again. Let's go ahead and see if we can make up that shot then. Otherwise, it looks like these 2 heavies over here seem to be screwed as they are barricading themselves, unfortunately enough. So let's go to get the clear into that enemy Carnivron right there. Alright, reloading again. I'm going to mosey on up just a little bit, as we already know that some of their vehicles are basically screwed at this point. We got that AC-48 off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and aim in right on the side profile of his vehicle, get the finishing clear off into him. And we're golden. Alright, so we also got the T28 HTC off to the side right over there. Alright, good. He gets the clear into him. Alright, we also got that Defender lurking on out right on over here. Let's go ahead and see if bro is going to poke himself out, which looks like it's not going to be the case. The LTTB is possibly going to be getting a shot into his side, and we're going to get the finishing clear off into his vehicle. Beautiful stuff right there. Got that T49 off in the back. Not really interested in wanting to clear him, as he is not within the vicinity to where I can basically just farm out much more extensive high amounts of damage. Alright. We got that Prog 46 off in the back as well alongside with that T49. So we're going to mosey our way over towards his vehicular then, see if we can do anything apart from his behalf. So we're going to mosey on forward. We got that Prog. We got that T49. All right, I guess I can clear the T49. Got our adrenaline back, so basically that's going to give us the opportunity to mosey on up over towards this Brigetto. And we're going to go ahead and he does track us in the process. Let's get an HE 471. There we go, baby. Just shy of 2,700 damage. I mean, the IS-6 has always felt nice to me, especially for the fact that with that armor buff, it did sincerely work for the most part, but we didn't really get that many bounces as apart from that. So, I mean, that DPM basically is a game changer as apart from that as well, because of the fact that we were just able to dump out 400 damage left and right. Instant top on the team in that aspect. Alright, let's go ahead and hop into game number 2, and let's see how we can do. Alright, so it looks like we loaded on in fairly rapid once again. So let's see what they got. They got a AMX-50, they have an IS-3, and that seems to be all they have. T-54 lightweight and a Dracula in terms of their maneuverability tanks. So let's go ahead and see what we can do in this battle. So let's go ahead and mosey our way over to the right side over here. See what we can do as apart from that. I am going to be demonstrating 2 battles in each of these guns. So this is the second battle now for the heat firing gun. So let's see what we can do as apart from that. Here we go. Got that 54 lightweight off to the side. Not really nothing I can do towards those enemies that are basically just putting themselves in a position to where they can be easily farmed out. We got that 5100 right off to the side right over here too. Let's get a slap for 394 into his vehicle. We got our adrenaline active. We got that IS-3 lurking on out towards the back, and we even have a charioteer lurking off towards the far back side of the map. So let's go ahead and see what we can do as apart from that. We got that IS-3 right there. He's going to be slightly exposing himself. However, I cannot penetrate him in any aspect. Got that Drac off to the side. Let's go ahead and get a slap for 351 into his vehicle real quick. And then we're going to go ahead and slowly back on up over here. That Dracula right there is going to get a tap into me, but I can honestly care less. So we're just going to slowly maneuver our way out of this position right over here. Got that Drac once again. 392 slapperoonie into his vehicle. Alrighty. Slowly backing on up continuously. Alright, beautiful stuff. We were able to get 2 nice taps into that Dracula right there. You got the IS-3 lurking on out towards the open right here. Let's go ahead and see if this guy's going to make a dire miss poke. Otherwise, if these guys over here want to try to test their luck, apart from that, well, here comes the Dracula right there. 399 slap into his vehicle once again. Got that AMX 5100 right over there. Beautiful bounce right there as apart from that. Let's see if this IS-3 is going to go ahead and bounce us. Oh, he's going to miss us. That's even better. So we're going to go ahead and get a slap for 398 into his vehicle. And this guy is just going to be doing the average 40% maneuver. He even is stock as well, so he's just going to straight up YOLO me. I don't really know if this guy can really do anything to counter my vehicle in that aspect. So we're reloading, and nice slap for 377. Just, overmatching that corner cutout on the side of his vehicle. So yeah, look at this IS-7. Okay, I was gonna say, he can't really do nothing in order to counter this vehicle right here. And here is the extensive pen factors for this vehicle too. Another slap for 374 into his vehicle. And we got our adrenaline back, so unfortunately this guy is penning me, surprisingly enough. Let's go ahead and see if that 846, okay good, he got cleared, that's good. Alright. Let's go ahead and, looks like we got that charioteer who decided to mosey his way out of that area. So, we're going to go ahead and continue to move forward over here. Let's see if we can do any further thing toward this enemy charioteer, which it looks like he's going to be exposing himself. Unfortunately, not the case. Alright, let's go ahead and see where this enemy Saint of Mill is located at. Ah, there he is. Okay, and he is still full health, so got that charioteer off to the side, not really concerned about him. I'm going to see if I can get a nice 507 slap into the side of that Saint of Mill right there. Alright, so reloading once again, we got that charioteer off towards the side right there. And it looks like the Saint of Mill is going to get cleared. Ooh, the ISU on the other hand, just doing what it does best. Apparently just 800 damage rolls. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is 3,000 damage right there. And a good solid outcome to demonstrate the DPM changes towards this gun and how it is beneficial with that high amount of penetration that this vehicle has going for it as well. And another top on the team in that aspect. Alrighty, so we are going to be switching guns here, switching the 122 millimeters, doing the one with the more DPM levels. So let's go ahead and plop in our standard eyes ammo loadouts, and let's go ahead and plop into game number 3 then with the different gun, and let's see what we can do as apart from that. I am really interested to want to try this gun out because of that 10 seconds of reload. That is really going to be beneficial in terms of out-trading the majority of other tier 10 heavies, kind of like that 112 Glacial, maybe even the IS-3 Defender. I did hear that gun got buffed as well, so we're going to kind of see how things would go well with this gun on the other hand. So here we go. Let's go ahead and mosey our way toward the front line. Looks like we got some tier 9s in this battle. Kind of see how we're going to fare well in this one. The thing I don't really like about the APCRs is the lackluster pen of 228. I mean, who knows? I don't really know if I'm going to be able to pen everything. I don't really know if I'm going to bounce everything. But we'll just have to wait and see until then. So, got that TL7 right there who wanted to somehow fire a blind shot. Not really sure what his big brain plan was there. Otherwise, we got the 2 heavies off towards the side right there. Alright, let's see. We got that IS-3 Defender. So, oh, somebody's lurking on out over here then. I'm going to back on up slowly. It's the Waffle, so let's go ahead and aim in a 467 slap into his vehicle. Alright, backing on up slowly. Alright, beautiful stuff as apart from that. Let's go ahead and see if this Waffle is going to expose himself over within this vicinity right there. I don't want to take that blind shot just yet, So what I'm going to do is, now that that RHM has been pretty much taken care of for the most part, we're going to mosey on up over here. Oh, unfortunately, my teammate does get cleared as apart from that. Got that IS4, or KV4 off to the side right there. We're going to slap him for 365. Beautiful shot into his vehicle as apart from that. So we're going to mosey on up over here towards these enemies right here. Got that KV4 once again, and we are already loaded once again. So let's go ahead and fire in another shot for 467. And we got our adrenaline loaded as well. So let's go ahead and mosey over towards this KV4 right here and get a slap for 334 to his vehicle. That reload feels so nice on this vehicle right here, especially for an IS-related vehicle, man. I mean, what more can you ask for? Just dumping damage left and right at a more rapid pace. I mean, that's not something you see every day for an IS-related vehicle. I mean, that's absolutely crazy to even think about. All right, so we got that Waffenträger off in the back right over here. Let's go ahead and mosey our way up over to him, and let's see if we can get a nice slap into his turret right here. 478 brought out of his vehicle. Nice results. And we got the Yo right on over here as well. So we're going to mosey our way over towards his vehicle then. And we're going to go ahead and slap him for 477, man. Oh my gosh. See, this is what I'm talking about. The fact that the IS-7 in the current state now can just dump out damage within a much more rapid pace feels so much more nice, bro. I mean, I totally can recognize a difference as apart from the old one and the new one. This just feels so much more better, bro, as apart from that. Alright, so let's go ahead and mosey our way on up over here then. Looks like this Leopard over here is going to be going right over towards our enemy VK, unfortunately enough. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to try to see if I can go over the top right over here and see if I can get some taps into his vehicle as apart from that. So come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. I want to go ahead and get a slap into you. Unfortunately, he's going to be bozing himself out over there. Alright, you know, I'm just going to go down. Alright, so come on, come on, come on. I want to get a slap into you real quick. Yes, 358. Alright. Another solid result right there. I mean, that felt much better. That's another 3,300 damage game right there. I mean, what more can you ask for? This is not something that you see every day lurking on an IS-related vehicle. Like I've said multiple times, man. I mean, that game right there literally just felt like a farm fest right there. Alright, so, without further ado, let's do one final game doing another battle in the standard gun, or the APCR 122mm, and let's see if we can put up just as good as a performance upon the last couple games. So, another tier 9 battle, unfortunately enough. So, a 7.52, they got a KV5, M3 Yo, and a T32. Interesting lineup that they got right there, but let's see what we can do to counter that. Loading on into the next battle right here. Here we go. Looks like the majority of our guys are going to be heading on over to the left side, so I'm going to kind of play a little bit carefully and see what we can do as apart from that. So, we're going to head right on over within the vicinity of base A, like towards this side over here. Let's see what we can do. Alright. Got that WZ who's going to be our scout right there, basically just outspotting everything that's going to be lurking within this area. Let's see what we can do as apart from that. Got that KV5 down low, surprisingly enough. Alright. And it looks like we got the Hawk. I don't know what bro is doing as apart from that. 531! Oh my goodness, that freaking slap, bro. That is crazy. Alright, so reloading once again. We got that T32 exposed off to the side right there. Ugh, my RNG again, bro. Crazy. Alright, so we got the 7.52. And the good news is that we reload again in 10 seconds. So, let's go ahead and mosey our way up over towards him. We also got the Yad Tiger spotted off to the side as well. Yeah, I can't really do anything to counter that 7.52 in any way, shape, or form. And there's the T32. I don't know what these guys are doing. And we get a bounce. Surprisingly enough. Alright. So, reloading again in another 3 seconds. And he does miss that one. Well, bro's cooked. That's for dang sure. So let's go ahead and mosey our way. Oh, I would have thought that I had the shot. Unfortunately enough, I didn't. And he still bounces my side. What in the absolute heck, dude? That is crazy. Alright, so we got the 7.52 right here. We also got the Yad Tiger. Let's see. There's nothing I can really do to counter these vehicles, unfortunately enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stay back and hold these guys off the best that I can. Alright, so that Yad Tiger is still eyeballing me, surprisingly enough. If I poke my hatch, that vehicle is just going to freaking wipe the floor with me, apparently. Alright, so we got that 752 right there. Let's go ahead and see... just barely missing it. Alright. That's the one part that's a little bit lackluster about this vehicle is the accuracy levels. Alright, so we got this Yacht Tiger apparently moving on up. I don't really know what bro's doing. There's a 403 slap into his vehicle. And then we're going to mosey our way on upwards over here for the time being. And then go right at this 752 right on over here. There we go. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh my gosh. Again, bro. My RNGs is absolutely deteriorating left and right. That's kind of crazy. Well, the good news is that he does get cleared as apart from that. So we're going to go in a side scrape right here. And there we go. 403 slap into his vehicle as apart from that. So we're going to go in a scrape once again. Let's go ahead and see if this guy is going to bounce me. Unfortunately, he doesn't because that's the beauty of tier 9s is that they basically can just get away with those pen factors, but what this guy is unaware of, I was going to clear him as apart from that. Alright, so we are within the vicinity of a one-shot, and the one thing I want to be most sincerely careful of is not playing fairly aggressive. So it looks like the majority of their vehicles are going to be heading on over towards this side right over here. You got that Yo, it looks like he is possibly going to expose himself lickety-split. Otherwise, there was another vehicle that's going to come on up, and that is without a doubt the Semavente. So let's see if bro is going to make a dire mispoke. Otherwise, if the Yo wants to come out and say what's up, that can also account for that too. Which there he is right there. Oh my gosh, bro. That is so tragic. Alright, so he's out of the game. We also got the Semavente right off towards the side right there. Not aiming in on my vehicle, but he does angle his turret. There we go. 382 tap into his vehicle. A little bit worse of a result right there. I mean, still 2,400 damage is not bad, but I'd still rather prefer the other gun just because of those increased damage factors. This is basically just a runner-up in case with just standardized or much improved levels of DPM as apart from that. So I don't really see a difference in between the two guns. Just the DPM levels just feel really nice as apart from penning your shots left and right. It's not something you see every day on your typical IS vehicle. So hopefully you guys did end up enjoying today's video on the other hand. And if you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And make sure to turn on those bell notifications while you're at it so you do not miss out on any new videos or streams. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out, y'all.